In this video, we will get an introduction to the list object with Python programming. A list is a finite series of ordered objects. Remember that everything in Python is an object. So within a list data type object, we could store a string, numerical data types, nested lists, so that is a list within a list. It could also be a list within a list within a list, and so on. A dictionary, tuple, and set, and we'll see these three in upcoming sections. And it can also store custom objects like an arcpy geometry or any other custom type object. A list can store none, one, or many objects. One important attribute of a list is that the objects are in order. A list is mutable. This means that it can be altered in place. We saw with strings that they are immutable, meaning that we have to overwrite the string variable in order to alter the string. This is not the case with a list. A list can be altered in place. If you remove an object from the list, it is removed from the original list. You do not have to overwrite the list variable in order for the alteration to take place. A list is also iterable. This means that we can cycle through each element or object in the list, one element at a time. You could picture a list like a magical box for a kid, let's say, and they want to place their toys in an order where they know where to access each toy every time they want it. Here we'll set our rocking horse to be a string, our rubber duck to be an integer, our teddy bear to be a float, and our toy train to be a boolean. We then add these to our box, our list, in a specific order. Let's head over to PyScripter and take a look at how we create a list with Python. There are a couple of ways we can create a list with Python. Here I'm in the Python interpreter window, and I'll create a variable called empty list. I'm going to set this to equal square brackets. These square brackets denote that we are creating a list. I'll hit enter, and then we will print the empty list to the screen. We can see we were just returned the square brackets. We can also declare an empty list by using the built-in list function and hit enter. Again, when I print empty list, we can see we have an empty list. Let's create a variable called country list. And we'll set this to equal our square brackets. We'll create a list that contains strings that represent country names. We'll start with Ireland, USA, Germany, Colombia, Japan, and Ghana. We'll hit enter, and we can print our country list to screen. We'll create another list called population list, and we'll set this equal to our built-in list function. And within that list function, we'll supply in square brackets, and we'll just throw in some numbers here: 2,500, 500,000, and another number, 19 million. Hit enter, and we can print our population list, and we can see we have a list of integers. Now each object in the list does not have to be of the same data type. We've created a list of strings and a list of integers, but we can mix object types. In terms of GIS, you might have a list of geometry objects, which are all the same data type, or you might have a list of attributes for a feature, and the attributes are all represented by different data types. You could have text as your string, and you could have numerical data types for integer and floats, such as population and temperature. We'll create a variable called mixed list, set that equal to our square brackets. We'll first supply in a string with GIS, an integer of 10, a boolean of true, a float of 15.76, and then we can add in a nested list. In our nested list, we're going to have a string that is the digit 1, an integer of 2, and a boolean of false. Not flays, false. We'll execute that line of code and print the mixed list to screen, and we can see our list was created. So you can see it is fairly simple to create a list with Python. We can also convert or cast another iterable to a list. We'll create a variable called text and set this to equal geospatial. Hit enter. Create another variable called letter list. And we'll set this to equal our built-in list function. And within that function, we're going to supply in our text variable, which represents geospatial. Hit enter. And we'll print the letter list to the screen. And we can see that each letter from our geospatial string has become an element in our list. In this video, we got a great overview of the list data type in Python. The important things to note are that elements in a list are ordered. Lists are mutable, meaning that they can be altered in place, and that a list does not have to contain all the same data type object. It can be a mixture of objects.